Hey there, my name's Paul and this is Out of Neutral, a weekly vlog where we look to the Bible to get in gear and follow Jesus into the life he came to make possible. Now today I want to talk about how the church would be different if Jesus didn't start a small group. I think we often take for granted the fact that Jesus lived and ministered with a group of 12 disciples. Moses didn't do that. Neither did David or Elijah. In one sense, the apostles were unique. Jesus was setting apart 12 representatives for the birth of the church, patterned after the 12 tribes of Israel. But the character of the church was forever transformed by the fact that Jesus invested in this small group of disciples, rather than just signing a book deal or traveling as a conference speaker. The impact of Jesus' small group shows us why it's important that we make time for small group fellowship ourselves. Now, the first reason is, without a small group, people get the words, but not the heart. And Jesus preached some remarkable sermons, but it was in the fellowship of a small group that people saw the heart behind the words. Imagine the impact it would have had for Peter to see Jesus heal his mother-in-law, for example. Remember the tears that Jesus shed at Lazarus' tomb and how people remarked, "See how he loved him." Sermons can just feel like words until we gather and we feel the conviction and passion of others who believe those words. Secondly, without a small group, people's assumptions often go unchallenged. There's often a gap between what's said, what's heard, and what's understood. Without small group fellowship, we carry assumptions that can go unchallenged. For example, Peter assumed the cross was a terrible idea until Jesus set him straight with those now famous words, "Get behind me, Satan." The disciples assumed pouring expensive perfume on him was a waste of money until Jesus explained otherwise. Because the disciples spent time with Jesus, he was able to correct their assumptions and guide their understanding. When we make time for small group fellowship with the body of Christ, something similar happens today. Also, without a small group, people's questions go unanswered. A sermon can try to anticipate questions and answer them, but there's not enough time to answer every question that people have. The disciples' questions were answered after Jesus' sermon, in the fellowship they enjoyed with him. The disciples asked him questions about parables and prophecies and end times. But they also asked him more practical issues, like about divorce and sickness and salvation. Without small group fellowship, people either take their questions to Google or they just stop asking them. And neither of those is helpful. But it's not just questions that go unanswered. Without a small group, teachings go unapplied also. Jesus could preach about humility and servanthood, but it was in the context of fellowship that he could help the disciples apply those teachings. I love the time when Jesus asked the disciples what they'd been talking about, and it says they kept silent, for on the way they'd argued with one another about who was the greatest. That gave Jesus an opportunity to confront a significant issue in their lives. Small group fellowship helps us to take biblical principles and figure out how they intersect with our lives. Finally, without a small group, mission is often neglected. Jesus taught the crowds, "You're the light of the world." But it was as he sent out the disciples as a small group that they saw real results. Small groups can encourage each other in mission and partner together to make a difference in a neighborhood or a community. Without a small group, we're just left with what we can do on our own. Have you joined a group of disciples, or are you just part of the crowd? People grow in small groups and often falter without them. We need the relationships and the community that small group fellowship is intended to provide. With the pandemic, it's only become more important. Don't wait until COVID-19 is behind us to get involved in a group. Follow Jesus into the fellowship he knows that we all need. Now that's all for this time. If today's video has helped you get out of neutral, share it with your friends and subscribe to join us on the journey.